So, it seems people are starting to get bored with these particular art styles and game mechanics from these particular type of games. I find that funny. It's definitely funny to me because I'm bored of these art styles and gameplay mechanics that we've had for years as well. So what's going on, everyone? So, Minecraft. Is this an indie title or AAA? Because I can tell you right now that it has sold more than most proclaimed AAA game franchises on the market, as well as got people onto multiple different platforms in order to play this game. Yet there are those who say these pixel looking games aren't the real console sellers. I've come back from a pretty busy week, but I'm back and I have something that I'd very much like to talk about. When I was away, I was still scanning Twitter on my phone, and there were a lot of debates going on about indie games and supposedly there being too many of them on the Switch right now, or perhaps more accurately, there appear to be more indie games than what people would consider as AAA games, and I say that with quotations. Now, I use the term AAA all the time as well, but every time I say it, it kind of makes me feel, slightly sick to my stomach, or perhaps more accurately again, it always makes me question what exactly AAA means, because everyone I've spoken to generally has a slightly different opinion on it, and in this industry, it gets thrown around quite a lot. Now, I recently saw a video from a YouTube channel called Dreamcast Guy. I've been aware of this guy for a while, and the video was titled, "Does Switch Have an Indie and Big Game Problem?" And in this video, this man chats about how he's getting fed up with many indie titles, mostly because many of them all look the same, and how he's looking for what he calls a more epic experience on Switch. Something that this year just isn't there enough in his opinion. He later goes on to mention how he'd like a new Mario and Zelda already, how games like God of War and Resident Evil 2 Remake as examples are the games that truly sell consoles. How Octopath Traveler looks nice but isn't really a system seller compared to the previous games I mentioned. How Nintendo might be currently stuck in their approach to software on the Switch. How Nintendo need to reinvigorate their fan base because we're supposedly getting bored. And how he's impressed that the Switch has sold so much, and then as a possible remedy, he suggests porting over more 3DS and Wii U games to fill the voids, like Link Between Worlds and Wonderful 101, etc. Which makes me laugh for a ton of reasons. If you're in the same mindset as me, I don't recommend watching the video, as it'll probably make your blood boil as he continues to in some ways contradict on himself on what he's discussing and perhaps what he wants from the Switch. But hey, this is YouTube, right? Everyone's allowed to talk about pretty much anything they like, including me. Now, I'm not going to do a rebuttal to that video, as much as I'd like to, but I'm going to take another angle and try to work out what people consider to be AAA and why they are supposedly considered far superior in general to what indie developers pump out. So, deep breath, and let's get into it. Now, I personally don't think the biggest issue people have with so many indie games is necessarily the art style itself. When I say indie games, sort of like that pixel art style, of course, that's still a factor. But I think it's more to do with how the games generally play. Now, of course, we can't lump every indie game into the same bracket, and the same goes for AAA games. These are the games that are supposed to have the big budget, right? The games that are meant to be the cream of the crop. The games that are truly meant to grab people's attention and say, look, this is the best the industry has to offer. Doesn't it look all shiny? And, of course, you've heard this rant from me before. As someone who's been playing games for a long time now, the older I get, the more I'm irritated by how, this might sound harsh, but how shallow some people can be when they proclaim that these big budget games are the way forwards. How they believe that a game like the new God of War is truly pushing the boundaries of what this industry can offer in all aspects. Because it looks so damn realistic, this game must surely be the best, right? It's better than anything that came before, and introducing gameplay that elevates it above the competition. Then at the same time, the general public and many gamers will look at a game, say like SteamWorld Dig 2, and think, man, that game's graphics, they look okay, I guess, but it's 2D. How could it, in any way, shape or form, be better than something like God of War? Both of these games I've actually reviewed on my channel. Both of them I scored an 8 out of 10. When I reviewed them. How is it that for me that two completely different games on opposite ends of the budget scale garner the same score for me, when as many people believe AAA gaming is the cream of the crop? As always, it comes down to more than just shiny visuals, but more to what that game individually offers the player. Not only that, of course, but each game must try to perfect the direction it has gone in, and what it tries to offer the player. Especially when you start comparing it to previous games in similar genres. I was just as engaged in the world and characters of, say, SteamWorld Dig 2 as I was in God of War. It doesn't matter if one provides voice acting or motion captured graphics. The game itself has to capture the player, and this leads me into the supposed dominance of AAA games, where people act like these big budget titles provide the best gaming experiences, in all their aspects, which, as you can tell from my, state of mind right now, is utter nonsense. The worst console I've ever owned software-wise is, the PlayStation 3, and I hated that console. Most of the software from AAA studios, exclusive to that platform, was utter garbage, I thought. Nothing but looking shiny and highly evolving of the truly great games that came, generations before. Don't come to me and say things like Resistance, Fall of Man, the whole trilogy has better level design and gameplay, for this generation than, say, Perfect Dark on the N64 or GoldenEye or whatever. Because I'll just laugh in your face. Don't come to me and say that level design in the tombs of and puzzles in, say, Uncharted and the new Tomb Raiders are better designed than, say, Ocarina of Time or Link to the Past or even original Tomb Raider. Because once again, I'll laugh in your face. So somewhere along the lines, we got this idea that most modern AAA titles are the best of the best, that they put to shame games of the past. And when it comes to games like Hollow Knight, Bastion, Transistor, Limbo, Journey, Cave Story, Divinity, Original Sin, SteamWorld, as I mentioned, Celeste, Wargroove, Papers, Please, VVVVVV, Fez, Stardew Valley, I've got these names written down, by the way. Undertale, Darkest Dungeon, etc., etc. These supposedly can compete with them because compete with AAA titles, because of reasons, right? I will tell you right now, the best game on the PlayStation 3, in my opinion, without a shadow of a doubt, is Journey from that game company, which essentially was an indie studio who created one of the most engaging and compelling experiences I've ever played in my life. And in my mind, that game put to shame the likes of, say, The Last of Us, which in my opinion had hardly anything noteworthy going on for it except the story, which is debatable as well. Yet gamers and casuals around the world praise it to the high heavens because they were utterly convinced that they had just played what they just played was gaming perfection. And of course the media caught on because of the way it looks, and it's titles like this that get more remembered, and not the truly groundbreaking ones like Journey in terms of the mass market. Now, one thing I will agree with is that a certain art style, when overused, can indeed get boring. But let's not rush out there and condemn every pixel-looking game here. Because for me, this too applies to the AAA scene, where the repeated visuals and aesthetics of games like Gears of War and Call of Duty and the latest Grand Theft Autos, aside from Chinatown Wars, which was a breath of fresh air for the series, Assassin's Creed, Dark Souls, God of War, Destiny, The Last of Us, Uncharted, Tomb Raider, Far Cry, Horizon Zero Dawn, Resident Evil, etc., etc. I'm not sure about anyone else, but man, I'm tired of the way these games look as well. Utterly tired of them, because for the most part they all use a very similar art style over and over again, and we've had this for years, and this even flows across to their sequels. Why aren't people getting bored of this? It's because of all the gigaflops these games are pushing, and visually, because of this, people say that these games must be better than indie ones, than the indie ones I've mentioned before. Or perhaps it's because people think they provide the more epic and compelling experience, because hey, this game has 50 plus hours of gameplay in it, right? Once again, we all know that this is not a factor in what a memorable and compelling experience can deliver, nor whether you feel that the price point has to justify the experience, because I've done a video on this before, which I'll link above if I remember. Once again, Journey. Talking about Journey now. Journey took me 4 hours to complete. I paid, I think, £15 for that game. I've completed it over 5 times, and I will remember that game for the rest of my life. And I've already forgotten most of The Last of Us. If Journey was £50, personally for me, I wouldn't have felt ripped off because of the experience that game offered above everything else I played at that time. Stick with graphics. This is why I love the Legend of Zelda series so much, because virtually every major entry tries something new, not just gameplay wise but also visually. It's a series that refuses to stand still, which is why I'm always itching to see what they do next. Am I, for example, excited about the next God of War? Not really. Because I'm utterly convinced that game will look and play virtually identical to the previous one. And God of War really done nothing new for me, because like I said, we played these games so many times, and God of War really didn't do anything new. So I find it hard to be excited by something that I believe will be no different than before. But hopefully, I'm proven wrong, right? Does the Switch need games like the Shadow of the Tomb Raider or the new Call of Duty to be successful? Sure, but it also needs games like Dead Cells and The Messenger to be successful, because of diversity, my people. As always, we'll brush aside the trash indie or big budget games, as they will always exist. We'll always brush those aside. There'll always be crap looking games from no matter what the budget. But in every price point there will be those true gems that we need to salute. And as I've said in a previous video, I give some AAA studios a harder life because they come out themselves and preach that they are at the cutting edge of the industry and what they offer is the best. And I sit back and see, if they are, chatting crap or not, which, most of the time they are. Unless of course we get those rare occasions when, AAA greatness truly shows itself, and we see what technology can do when given a budget in games of that budget and caliber today. And once again, I look no further than Breath of the Wild, which, like I said, puts to shame mechanically and what it's doing, and with the technology, puts to shame games like Horizon Zero Dawn. And you've all seen the comparison videos, and all of the industry in unison will look at Breath of the Wild and say, and this is what they say. They say, oh, that's how you do it. Let's copy that instead. I don't think we're going to see many people copying Horizon. I really don't. You know, some people might feel that the Nintendo Switch has an indie, problem, and there's not enough, like I said, supposed AAA games on there. But I just don't get that mentality, really. I can understand the mentality of, like I said before, where we get too much of a similar art style. That it starts to feel a bit tired, but like I said, that applies as well to how I feel about the bigger budget titles and how they look and how the types of art style that they keep on offering, in terms of them just saying, these are great graphics, this is what we expect. But as I keep on saying, we need diversity, and there's always going to be art styles that will stick around, and within those art styles and within those genres, you're going to get the good games and the bad games. And I feel like we as gamers and consumers learn to see what is and what is good and what is bad, and we need to push aside the mentality that these bigger budget, bigger graphics games should represent what gaming is as the industry, because in my mind that's just not the case at all. We need to ensure that as gamers as well, we need to keep on pushing the mentality of diversity, so that someone even in the general public can look at a game like Hollow Knight, like Dead Cells, and and all these games, and say, wow, this looks great. And they'll say the same thing then about another big budget title that is doing something different. Like when you look at the Mario or the Zelda and stuff, you think, wow, these games look great. Because like I said, within all of these budgets and price ranges and stuff, we need to fish out the good games, kick aside the bad games, which has always happened, and like I said, keep pushing that mentality of, yeah, this is great. And from in terms of what we'll get then in terms of games and gameplay and stuff, that's when we'll see continuous evolutions, because the industry won't be scared to step into certain genres, certain art styles. It'll feel more free to be imaginative and creative with a multitude of art styles, which will really take gaming into the next level. And we've had a few generations and generations where you can see it there. You can see it just on the cusp, but the big publishers and the big media markets want to push games like Horizon Zero Dawn and God of War the way they look as the pinnacle, as the best. And like I said, in my mind, that's just not the case at all. But anyway, what are your thoughts? Balance is needed from all aspects of the industry, of course. The Switch for me has a very diverse lineup of games, both current and in the future, and we all crave certain experiences, and the Switch is still growing as a platform. I mean, it's a year and a half old, people. Let's not forget that. And I have a feeling that soon we'll be once again begging for the software to slow down, and in some ways, I already am. My Switch wish list is just stupid at the moment. But do you feel that AAA games are truly the be-all and end-all? That only those types of experiences are the ones that can truly engage you and keep you interested in a platform? Or that indie games of great quality can sustain a console by themselves for X amount of time? It's things and genres get mixed up from different budgets and everything? Or do you feel that the current library of the Switch just isn't engaging enough for you yet, like many of us feel, and it needs more oomph? And if so, what type of oomph exactly is that that currently isn't on the Switch? We all like compelling experiences from all our favorite companies, but these things can take time. Plus you have to shovel through the trash to find the truly significant stuff, and that exists in both what we call the indie scene and the AAA scene. Trust me. I've said myself that Nintendo's offerings this year in terms of games like Kirby and Mario Tennis, and the type of chicken breast that I like right now from Nintendo, but it didn't mean I didn't have other options. And recently I played Hollow Knight, which is simply a must play. In fact, it's in my top 10 games you must play on the Switch right now, even trumping many of the bigger budget games, you know, currently on a Switch or any other platform for that matter. And this game was made, you know, by two people. You know, I look at AAA games today and I think, you know, people really think they're doing greatness. You know, they're really doing things new. And trust me, you know, I harp on about this on my channel all the time. You know, games have not evolved mechanically and stuff as far as you think. Sure, there's going to be the individual games, there always will be, but for the most part, we're playing the games that we have played for years, and it takes a breath of the wild for you to notice that, yeah, you know what, you're right. There are things here that I thought were great, but until I played this game, my God, what have I been playing? You know, so you know, sorry if this has been a bit of a long one. You know, it was a lot to talk about, and you know, I'm not even sure I got my points across, or covered the main things I wanted to get across, you know, as usual. You know, but this is what the comment section is for. Pull me up on stuff, disagree with me, agree with me. You know, whatever. You know, this is why I've created this channel. You know, I have my own thoughts in my head, and I need people to come back and talk to me about this type of stuff. But you know, but anyway, let me know your thoughts below. I'll reply to every single one of you as always. And as always, thanks for listening. Take care all. Peace.